I'm Greg Thomas from Genesis, and welcome to Level Up CX Live, where we discuss the biggest trends and challenges facing the customer experience. Migrating your customer experience technology to the cloud provides an opportunity to assess technology, processes, and how people work together. Today, we're going to be joined by Mackenzie Eisman from Global Payments to learn how a successful partnership between IT and the business teams helped Global Payments level up their customer experience. So, Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining us. I was just telling the good folks tuning in sort of about the basic journey that Global Payments has been on. Can you just briefly introduce yourself and Global Payments and your role there?
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name is Mackenzie Eisman. I am the manager of communication platform services with Global Payments, and I ultimately help run our newly introduced Genesis platform that is coming, that we're rolling out to all of our business units across the world. For those that don't know, Global Payments is a large technical organization. In my kind of role, I always refer to it as we process credit card payments. So any of your local shops or restaurants, we are probably behind the credit card machine that is processing those payments. We have over 24,000 employees in roughly 41 different countries. And we process about 4.6 million merchant accounts every day. We are a Fortune 500 company. And we are also the official commerce technology partners for places like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. So yeah, your business touches a lot of people's day to day, right?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about your role specifically? Because I think you've got this interesting background, right, where you've sort of like gone from the business side to the operation side. You sort of have a nice perspective on how this whole customer experience gets knit together.
Yeah, definitely. So I have actually been with Global Payments for right at 12 years now. I actually started
Happy
when I
birthday!
was, I know, when I was 19 years old, and I started as a customer service agent answering phone calls um, for our merchants. From there, I kind of transitioned and did a leadership role managing the customer support teams. That soon transitioned to a workforce management role and helping with scheduling and forecasting, reporting for all of our lines of business and managing that team worldwide. And then that ultimately led me to where I am now, which is managing our voice telecommunications team for all of our locations across the world on our merchant side of the business. So
Mm.
I do kind of bring a different perspective from not just having a straight technology background. I bring the side from looking at the business, being someone that was sitting there on the phone, like, what do I want in a phone system? Like,
Mhm.
what could I have wished for back then? Is really the side of the house that I kind of have a different flavor from just being having a strong technical background.
Yeah, and I think that's such an interesting background, and I think you're right. You bring that sort of empathetic view of like, what is it truly like to live in a contact center and sort of interact with your customers. So we'll come back to that. But as we said, y'all have been migrating your contact center solution to the cloud. Um, like rewind the clock a little bit for us and for the audience. Like, where was the company before? What led you to sort of take the decision that, hey, we need to go in a different direction from a technology point of view? What wasn't working, and or maybe what weren't you able to accomplish?
Yes. So global payments is kind of a made up of a lot of mergers and acquisitions over time. So with that, we had a lot of different telephony platforms that we were managing and working through. One of our main ones was a Avaya hosted cloud solution, and we just had kind of saw, we needed something that was going to be able to scale with the growth of our business, as well as bringing everyone together, as well as expanding into a omni-channel kind of platform with chat and email and SMS. So we were looking for something that could really help us go to the next step. So with that, we were taking um, phone systems like Avaya, TalkDesk, Vonage, AWS, Freshworks, In Contact, all of these, and trying to find a single platform. And ultimately, we landed on Genesis being the best partner for us to move forward with in this journey.
Yeah. And when you think about those channels you talked about, bringing in SMS, bringing in chat, was that something that you all were thinking about, "Hey, we wanna be able to offer this to our customers"? Did you feel like you were getting pull from your customers to sort of move into more of an omni-channel world? Like, because I think the answer could be either for a lot of organizations, but how were you all thinking about it?
We knew that our business partners kind of, when we think of our business partners, we're the contact center leadership teams, um, are who we kind of think about. And we knew that they kind of wanted that
Hmm,
as a future, as well as just our big motto is meeting the customers where they're at. So sometimes they might be working in a busy bar and they can't call us and sit on the phone, or they might not be able to hear us on a phone call. So meeting them through SMS might be better for them, or doing chat when they're sitting at their computer, looking over their statements. So meeting the customers where they're at was really the big push to try to look for more omni-channel levels of
yeah.
communications with global payments.
Yeah, because again, your customers are by and large, merchants, right? So like you said, they could be walking the floor, running their business. They can't necessarily take that phone call at the moment. So we recently recorded a companion podcast with one of your colleagues, and she talked a bit in depth about the process the global payments went through to evaluate different solutions. And so listen to that, everyone, if you want to kind of hear the details. But can you briefly walk us through that, and maybe in particular, with that sort of dual hat that you have, right, with sort of the business side and the operation side, how did you focus in on the most important things that you wanted to evaluate and sort of use as decision criteria for making the move?
Yeah, so we went through a full kind of what we called our bake-off process. So we looked at multiple different vendors on multiple different platforms, and criterias of what we needed in our new solution. And what my kind of role was, and I told my team was, you guys are technical, you guys can handle, is it going to work in the background? I want to be the person at the table that thinks about it from the business. Is this going to work for them in their day-to-day lives? Is this going to give them all their reporting needs that they need, the visibility that they need to what's actually going on? Is it going to work and be user friendly for the agents where they're not going to have to read a 10-page manual about the phone system to be able to log in and operate it? So that was really when we did this bake off process. I tried to take the step of like, I am someone from the business that would I want to use this system or not? Like, is really what I tried to look at. And it
That's
worked
just
out really
crazy,
well.
Mackenzie, that you would like think of it that way. Like,
Yeah, it helped a ton. So, like, that is a huge piece that I recommend to someone that is looking for a new vendor is if you don't have someone on your team with that experience to think about it from the business perspective, or someone that's maybe been in that seat before or in that role before, is pulling someone like a resource from the business to sit in on your bake offs and be a part of
yeah,
the process, because it really does make a huge difference. I know another piece that's really big right now too is the work from home models. A lot of businesses have either went fully work from home or they do a hybrid scenario. So thinking about how will this system function and operate no matter where the users are at was a big piece that we looked at, because previously in our old environments, the way that agents would operate and work if they're in the office was completely different than if they were at home. And we wanted to have something that was consistent. So they didn't have to think about it. It wasn't an added step of like, oh, if I work from home, I have to do XYZ different than if I'm working in the office.
yeah, the cloud kind of smooths that for sure. So you talked about a number of different things in sort of how you were all thinking about the bake off, but you also mentioned a bunch of different teams, right? You talked about leadership, you talked about the operation side, you talked about the business, the agents. How has this change working for all those different teams? And have you seen a difference in the way that sort of folks come together and work?
So We are taking our model of moving folks to the Genesis platform kind of as lines of business because we are so large and have so many. We can't just pull the plug in one night because we just did our largest migration to date 2 weeks ago and doubled our user count overnight. And I will say that it was very stressful and it took a lot of work. I mean, it was a huge effort and took so many different people. I couldn't imagine if we did any more than we brought on almost 800 agents in one evening to the
Wow.
platform. So it was a really large, complex move. So I think that finding ways so that it is quick because ultimately they do a lot of cross sharing of work. So having them on two different platforms, we're having to do SIP trunking and work share and really be methodical on who's going to move when because of the work share that's happening. So we're trying to move at a rapid pace, but we also want to move at a pace that is realistic and allows us to not just do a lift and shift of our environments. We want to do a lift and redesign and make it better and make it more operational and functional than just flipping a switch.
Right, right. It doesn't have quite the same rhyming cadence, but it is the right approach, right? To
Yeah.
sort of use it as an opportunity to build the system and sort of tweak it for what you need going forward. Um, so I know it's an ongoing process, but when you think about the benefits and sort of maybe the reception across the businesses that have kind of taken the step and are now living in the new world, how is that going? And how are you all thinking about measures of success?
Yeah. So I know right now we don't have hard concrete evidence of like it's reduced AHT by this amount or it's reduced technical issues. But I will say the overwhelming positive feedback that we've gotten from the business has been great. Everyone seems to really enjoy the new system. It's a learning curve. I mean, they've been on the same one for a long time, so it's going to be different for anyone, but overall people have really enjoyed it. They catch on to the new tool very quickly. I will say I know specifically we've gotten some really great feedback of call quality has greatly increased. So they're not having as much static on the line or calls breaking up. So that's been a really positive impact that we've been able to see so far.
Yeah, and I don't think you can underestimate the value of everybody being along for the ride, right? I mean, you talk
Mhm.
about your experience and bringing that perspective of what it's truly like to sit in the seat and work with the customers, right? If you're getting good feedback from folks that, hey, we like this and we like how this is going, give us more, like that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yes, definitely. I know I was nervous with our most recent move to bring on as quickly as it was. I mean, we started in October really designing and planning and like I said, we rolled out the last week of March. And I was like, that's a lot, that's a lot." But everyone was so excited. I mean, they are like, "Well, can we go any faster? Like, can we do?" And I'm like, "No, like we're going as fast as we can. Like, let's make sure it's right." But that's been the biggest thing is like they've really adapted to it and they're wanting it faster. I mean, um, we did our first official migration to Genesis Cloud in February of 2024. So we're right at a year. And like I said, last or 2 weeks ago, we doubled our user count overnight. So they're very open to it and they love it. And we have many, many more. We have another one that goes live next week. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
excited.
awesome. That's awesome. And are you picking up learnings like along the way as you sort of like shift one business over? Or are you sort of seeing things like, oh, and we're going to take this and when we roll the next business? Or how is it like from almost a learning and process perspective? How's that been going?
Yeah, so what we've been doing is as we're designing things, we're realizing like we want to design for what they need now, but also what they could potentially need. So adding in additional features, whether it's callback assist or um, voicemail options or emergency scenarios, we're trying to go ahead and have those built in and in place. And we've realized that along the way, it was like we can have it on. It doesn't have to be turned on day one, but it's there and available for when they need it. So we don't have to rework everything and prolong the process to bring something to to go live on the system. So that has been the biggest thing that I feel like as we've moved more and more folks onto the platform is going ahead and have a little bit more forward thinking of how
Mm.
can we make this easier to add on in the future.
Yeah, kind of future proofing it as you go.
Yes.
Um, so maybe picking up from there, like what's next? Like, obviously you're continuing to bring different business units into the fold and cutting them over to the platform. But you also talked at the beginning about, different channels and visibility into data and things like that. Where does global payments go from here?
Yeah. So ultimately, we are going to continue to move our voice um, lines over to Genesis over time. We have a full schedule for the remainder of 2025 and into 2026. But something that we're doing is as a fast follow-up to a lot of these business units is very quickly going ahead and adding that chat functionality in pretty quickly after. So for my line of business that went live 2 weeks ago, we're already looking at going ahead and migrating and moving into a chat functionality within the next few weeks. So that's kind of the next kind of follow up is after we get them on voice, then we start thinking about, okay, what are these omni channels that we can go ahead and
Yeah,
get in and move to our future?
that's cool, right? Like keep the improvements coming.
Yes.
So as we come to an end here, Mackenzie, what advice would you have for folks who are watching, who are on their own journey to improve the customer experience in their organizations?
Yeah. So I think, finding folks that you can talk to, if you see one of these recordings or have questions, ask your reps to have reference calls and talk to people that have been through it to really get a good perspective of like you might think that you know everything that you need to check or look under or figure out, but sometimes getting the advice from someone that's been through it is really great. And like I mentioned in the beginning, having someone from the business or to represent what your individual users will need was crucial in us finding the right partner. You can go with the cheapest option, or you could go with the option that you might be able to implement faster. But until you know what your users need every single day and a way to make their lives easier, I think that you're ultimately not going to find the best solution for you. And another piece of it is understanding the agents have a million things going on in their day-to-day lives
Yeah,
and they are getting thrown so much more work a lot of the times. Finding a solution that's easy for them to work with and knowing what they need and how they operate is going to be crucial to your success, and having your business partners and leaders really be open to the change.
yeah, that's fantastic advice. Um, well, Mackenzie Eisman from Global Payments, thank you so much for joining us today on Level Up CX Live and sharing your expertise, your experience, your strategies with us and the people watching. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. If you would like more on today's topic, you can scan the QR code that's going to appear on the screen or click the link in the comments to learn more. And please be sure to follow Genesis on LinkedIn. You'll get notifications about the next Level Up CX Live show and other updates. And you can also sign up for our newsletter. And of course, if you like this, please like and share today's show. And we'll see you on the next Level Up CX Live. Thanks for tuning in.